Hi, and welcome to System.debug. We're your hosts, Megan and
Nate, NA8 Pepper.
We are so happy to have you here. We have a great topic for you all today. It is going to be so exciting. Today, we are talking about open source and Git and how to pull it all together. That's right. Lots of fun stuff. We are going to talk about GitHub. We're going to talk about Bitbucket. And we've got to list a whole bunch of super cool open source projects here in the community that you all can use and contribute to. It's going to be tons of fun. We are so glad you're here. So let's kick it off. Nate, tell us a little bit about Git.
So let's see, actually in 2015, the LA Salesforce developer group did a huge continuous integration and continuous development meetup. And we had 3 Salesforce MVPs speak remotely. I think that was Kevin Poorman, Codefire, Alex Sutherland, or Apex Sutherland, and Daniel Hocht. And they talked about more high-level things, but there is a, you'll see that in the link. I'll link to that video on YouTube. I did do a quick talk about Git because that's the version control is the building block of anything you want to do more fancy with automated builds and continuous integration. So Git, it's essentially, it's a version control system. That's a fancy way of saying how to save your code and say, oh, that was save 1, save 2, save 3. I also did a talk last year at LA Force Academy where I go over that. If I can find a video of that, put that in the description as well. But essentially, I had 3 levels of explaining what Git is. I think the advanced one is to go through Git flow, how you can carefully set your branches up so that you can have multiple developers work on something.
What's Git flow? Hold on, what's Git flow?
Git flow. Well, let's talk about Git first. So there's Git flow, and then there's kind of just the medium version is where you've got Microsoft Word documents, and there's V1, V2 final, V3 final. I mean it. .docx. But think of it as in like Zelda. You've got save slot 1, save slot 2, save slot 3. And so that's the bare bones basics of Git. It's a way to save your code. So
do I have to blow into a cartridge?
That's actually not recommended. You should use isopropyl alcohol, but all my isopropyl alcohol in the house is now being used for other things. So yes, blow in the cartridge.
I feel your pain. So is mine. I get you. I get you.
I'm actually wondering, why don't I share my screen and I can take them to Git, the actual software, Git SCM's homepage, so that people know where to find that. And then also segue pretty quickly into GitHub, which is one of the most popular places where code that is saved with Git is stored. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Share desktop 1. Sure. All right. So here's the homepage for Git, the software. Don't quote me on this, but the layman's knowledge is that it was written by Linus Torvalds, one of the initial creator of the project known as Linux. We won't get into Linux versus GNU right now, but he essentially wrote it in 2 weeks because he was frustrated with everything else out there. And yeah, that's pretty bad. So Git, this is the software that you actually download onto your computer. And this is something that saves different versions of your code, right? And that's kind of it. There's a free book here by some of the people that contribute to Git and GitHub. We're also going to go over to GitHub, github.com. This is me logged in. I wonder if we can go to a non-authenticated homepage. Not really. I'll go ahead and log out then. There we go. So github.com, right? You can make a username here and it's free. GitHub is actually a legit OAuth source for many things that are developer related. So for instance, this is just an example, like freecodecamp.org or
GitLab.
What was that Code Quest thing that actually Jeff Douglas was a part of? Remember those code challenges back in the day? There was a code challenge website.
Which of the many code
I know which of the
challenges,
many, right?
man?
Essentially, the nice thing about GitHub is it acts as, number one, a place for you to find and download software that people have contributed. It's also a place for you to contribute code that you've done. And I'm actually going to go to a subject of an example of how to contribute to open source project, which is something that I put up recently. It's essentially going to be a Salesforce LWC app that allows you to load in local shops into S-objects and then make a bingo card for shopping local to support your local businesses during these times. So
just like bingo card, like kind of like the conference call bingo.
Bingo. No,
Bingo.
the game bingo.
I love it. How fantastic.
So from the command line, you'll see that I am in a directory. What is it? I'm in, users, Nate, dev, Salesforce, save our shops. And if you see here, this is an SFDX project, but it's not a Git repo yet. And all you do to create your own Git repository on your local drive is git init once you download it and install it. Boom. Now you'll notice I have omyzsh installed, which is just a fancy way to make your terminal shell fancier, right? It'll say, oh, we've got a Git, I'm in a Git repository and I'm on branch master. Branch master just means the main trunk of the tree, right? I would recommend not trying to call it anything besides master. There's a lot of places that are baked into the plumbing of Git. So master branch, and now we've got a Git repo. And then if I want to add, like say, hey, I want to connect this to that, all we would do is copy that URL and go here, git add remote origin, boom. Oh, I mixed those up. Git remote add. Boom. And then see, now I can check the status of this and so, oh my gosh, all this stuff I haven't committed yet. Add everything and push it, set upstream, origin master.
Nice.
Oh, well, anyways, you're like, wait, this is too hard. How do I make this easier?
So hold on. I was just going to say there's a way to make this even easier, and I was going to steal some sharing from you.
Go for it. Steal it if you're going to use my favorite tool. Whoa.
Now, one thing you may have noticed is the fact that Nate was using, or NA8, as we like to call him, Paprika, was using the command line. Not everybody's as comfortable with the command line as he is. And you know what? You don't have to use it. In this little button, you might have noticed that there was this little open in desktop button. This allows you to open up your repository in a desktop tool. There are a ton of different options for desktop tools. Everything from using the actual get option all the way through to using SourceTree, which is connected with, it's an Atlassian product, but just because it's made by Atlassian and part of Bitbucket doesn't mean you can't use it with GitHub. You'll notice here that you have the option to commit, you have the option to pull, push, and branch right here. You've got your cute little master branch going on. You can stash and hold on to something while you're grabbing a different branch. You can do all the exact same things that you can do with the command line with a pretty little UI. And this gives you just as much functionality, but it doesn't force you to use the command line for people that don't feel quite ready yet, or for when you're in a situation and you want a visual. Sometimes you want to see, where are all my different branches? Where are things going? Where are they connecting? And this gives you that opportunity to see how everything is connected and where it is going. So lots of different options, lots of different tools. And one thing that I do want to talk about is, I mentioned Bitbucket, and we're using GitHub. So you have a couple of different options for where to store your repository. One thing that comes up quite frequently is, where am I supposed to store it? And honestly, if you are working on an open source project and you want to be working with other people on it, a lot of times you're just going to be using GitHub. That seems to be where people go to collaborate with people outside of their corporation. Now, don't get me wrong, Bitbucket is fabulous. I use Bitbucket, but I use Bitbucket at work. Yes, you can make a public repo with Bitbucket, but it's also great for creating automation, to be able to commit to your org, to be able to set up scheduled deployments, to set up integrations. You can also set up integrations with GitHub, but it all depends on what your needs are and what you decide to purchase. Both allow you to have public and private repos. Bitbucket allows you to have more private repos for free than Git allows you to have. So just something to keep in mind. Get more private on Bitbucket for free, and GitHub has more public, so it's more likely that you're going to be working on a public project and an open source project on GitHub. So just a couple of different options there for you. In addition, Nate, you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I would definitely want to note that, like, although my oh, thank you. Look who decided to get out of bed. Cheers. I will add, as much as my hater has decreased, Microsoft did purchase GitHub. Gosh, is it 2-3 years ago now? But
Thanks, Batman.
yeah, it's it's GitHub. It's just a tool. I mean, the politics and saving code and publishing it is very minimal. So it's just and to be honest, different repositories are stored in different places. I'm not very familiar with GitLab. I remember looking into them 2, 3, 4 years ago. Actually, I dug into GitLab when it was announced that Microsoft had or was going to purchase GitHub, and you end up using what you can until it's end of life, like Maven's Mate. Oh.
Sad. So I actually have a GitLab account. I am currently using it for one project, and it's just a place to store code. Now, one thing about GitLab is GitLab has a lot of limits for their free version, so just something to keep in mind. And it's also not as popular, so you're going to find a lot less open source on there that you're going to be sharing.
But it's not just a file cabinet. It is like there's a lot of Rube Goldberg machine built into it.
There's a lot of stuff going on in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely not just a repo. Yeah.
I think so. Being halfway in, we could get into tools and all this sorts of nerdy stuff for a whole half hour. However, this is all a means to an end to do good, right? Contribute to open source things, and whether that be something more relevant to the time of contributing to maybe a project that's looking to help the communities nowadays to deal with this emergency, or just a cool JavaScript library to capture a signature on an LWC or Lightning page, right? So do you have maybe kind of a open source project you want to talk about first?
Go for it. I was going to say, I have a huge list of open source projects that I want to go through. So one thing that I did last week is I put a call out to our beautiful, beautiful Ohana, and I asked who has an open source project that they would like brought up on this call or on this episode. And lo and behold, I got some great feedback on everything from items that are being run by .org to individual repos to some beautiful stuff by our BFF Pecan and things by Daniel. So I just got a giant list going on right now. So I don't know where you want to start, but I have a lot of stuff that I think that we should be calling out and saying, this is cool stuff our Ohana is doing. And so if you want to be part of this, let's talk about it.
You know what? I will, being an alum of Financial Force, I will point out Financial Force is probably, it's definitely the corporate entity that I know that has the most open source contribution, perhaps besides Salesforce itself, at least in the Salesforce realm, right? And they Andy Fawcett was CTO for years and years. and really did help spearhead that that effort. So I want to send a shout out to them, not only Andy, but the whole team there, David Frudd, a lot of the contributors that continue to add to that. It's large, it's complicated, but it deals with that kind of scale of things. It does smell a lot of people that have lived in Java for 10 to 20 years, but we'll do want to give a shout out to them. Check out Financial Force Dev, I believe is their username on GitHub, and they've got dozens and dozens of repos, HTTP call out libraries and all that. But then there's smaller, more bootstrap ideas.
Yeah. I've got
was
one more big one to give a shout out to, and I'm gonna do a little screen share here. Some major props to .org here for some of their work. So this one here was mentioned by so a couple of different people. So we have everyone here from the fabulous Todd and David Reed on Ohana Slack who brought this up. David Reed being one of the people who helped work on this. And so this this open source project is to help you with your release process. And yes, it is either known in the development world, or you are going to be part of .org. But more people need to be working with this. You can hop on some Trailheads, you can get involved. And I swear every single time I say this, I trip over my tongue. So I'm so sorry. Nate, if you want to give it a try, you can do it. But I swear you've made fun of me more than enough every time I try to say it.
Kamulasi. Kamulesky.
Yes.
Steve Buscemi. Yeah. Samsonite. No.
Gold star, A+. I'm just not going to try because I'm going to do it again where I do that thing where my tongue gets all tripped up over it. But yes, I say we do it, join it, hop on this repo, take a look, see what's up in there, and join in. And absolutely, like I said, absolutely, Trailheads available, entire trail available to help you get started. And everything from projects to modules. Get in there, get going, and get started.
Why don't you quick show them that if they wanted to, on Trailhead, they can absolutely find modules on Git and GitHub.
Absolutely, you can find modules about Git and GitHub. Let me quick type in the word Git and whoa! Git and GitHub basics, very first thing that comes up.
That second project is
like
something I want to start.
And check this out. Also, you can learn a little bit about GitLab. What? Mixing it up, GitHub, GitLab, all in one. Trailhead, it's going to be your BFF. And I know you people say, but Megan, I just need all the badges. Well, this is how you get all the badges. And I mean, if you don't have 460 badges, then you just don't have enough badges to be part of the fight of how do we beat Megan in badges. And I don't have all the badges yet, so I'm not done. I still got to keep going. I need more. Because it's like Pokemon, I gotta catch them all. In addition, I have a problem when it comes to badges, and keep learning about source control. Source control is going to be your best friend. I just worked on source control and realized I had an out-of-date repo. There is nothing worse than realizing that you have 25,000 things that are out of date in your repo, and that you had a repo that was from months ago instead of a repo that matches your sandbox. Keep your repo up to date so that you don't have to all of a sudden redeploy. Promise me, everyone watching this, you will keep your repos up to date. Then another item, so this fantastic credit card form. So this I learned about just the other day on Twitter. It is new and it is available. You can hop in there, you can use it on communities, and you can use it with a guest user, and it's a way to accept payments within a community securely. Super fantastic, super fun, super easy. And you can also connect to this repo. We'll make sure to include the link down below. But absolutely fan-freaking-tastic. Love it, so cool. And look at that pretty UI. Yeah, it's pretty lightning. I love it. Just so cool, so cool. I'm gonna jump into some more. We've got the payment form here that goes along with the pretty little payments. Check that out. Look at how you can take it. LWC components. That's right. We're not talking oral. We're talking LWC. I mean, it's pretty. It's new. It's beautiful. You even got your fancy number on the back of the card that gets entered. You have to enter your address. All those normal things you do with a normal payment available right here. And check this out. OpenSource. Look at this list of fantastic repos. I want to drop this one in there too. I'm sorry, I'm still going. There's so many more. We also have David Reed. Look, again, he's coming up with more tools and more options. This guy's fantastic, working for Salesforce.org, and he's just got a ton of stuff available.
So not that I want you to continue stealing the thunder, but what are all those little buttons and green things and percentages?
Why don't you tell us?
Okay, so these are, for those not familiar with Git, hopefully what is RST? I'm not gonna get into that. Okay, most people should be familiar with Markdown. It's what Wikipedia runs on, essentially. It's not HTML, but something quickhand to make heading 1, heading 2, etc. And if you'll notice right there on Megan's screen, there's a VLOOKUP, which looks like it's a little codey thing. Yeah, it's ways of doing quick things like that, making links. But these buttons there, so these are ways to indicate, hey, this is on a continuous integration pipeline on Travis or GitLab or whatever, and the status is currently passing, or the code coverage is XYZ. So those are what those are. If you're wondering, wow, that's pretty. These are ways that you can let people know at a quick glance visually how the project is doing. Also, do you mind if you switch over to me? I'm going to show them an example of a deploy to Salesforce from GitHub.
I steal my glory.
Well, you're taking too much time. All right, let's see.
Well, I guess it's not really mine. I guess that is the Andy Fawcett's glory. But if you want to pull up one of my repos, that'd be cool.
Speaking of that, we're definitely going to show the deploy to Salesforce from Dolores. All right. Dolores. Oh, no, I can't search for Dolores. I actually have to type out declarative roll-up lookup summaries. There we go. Okay, ready? I'm going to steal the screen share right now. Boom. So one of the most famous open source Salesforce projects, Andy Fawcett, declarative roll-up lookup summaries. This is where you can have roll-ups without having master detail relationships. Oh no, build's failing. But you'll notice down here, there may not be a course on this actually. No, deploy to Salesforce. No, I guess not. Wow.
I have a repo with a deploy for Salesforce, but if you'd like to see it, I can drop you the link. Here, I'll drop it to you in the chat, Mr. Nate. That way you can still show it. There you go.
Boom. Ready? Good. Because I'm going to switch to pushing. Oh, look at you, competitor. You are competitive. Boom. So this button right here, that allows you to deploy. It's almost like an App Exchange install link, but it uses a GitHub, a Heroku app to install the contents of that repository into your selected production or sandbox.
And Andy made it so easy that anyone can do it. It's on my repos. So come on, y'all. So easy. And do you want to click the little checkbox to show the button code?
Oh,
show them how easy that is.
Ooh,
yeah.
Look at that image.
Yeah. So cool. So cool.
Nice. So let's see. And it takes you here. How does it pass in those parameters?
So if you want to click on the little pencil on my repo, you can show them. The actual first line is where it goes to GitHub sfdeploy.heroku.app.com !owner equals the owner name and then the repo.
Pencil on
oh, I'll steal it. Sherry, it's not your repo, so you can't see the pencil.
Yeah.
There we go. You will notice here, this little top line is what allows you to do it. You'll notice right here at the end is where we're giving it away. Just drop in your name, switch in your repo name. Boom, good to go. That's all it takes. Easy peasy, yo. Like I said, anyone can do it.
Let's see.
Now that I have screen sharing back, props to the fantastic Pecan. This dude, he's awesome. If you don't know Patrick Carley, he has a bunch of amazing repos. He's got 70 repos. Look at this. A bunch of these
Some of them are
Salesforce.
forked, which means if someone else
Yes.
created a repo, you can make a copy of it and play with it on your own. Yeah, and contribute to it that way.
Which is what we highly recommend you doing with a bunch of these open source projects. Fork it, make some updates, send it back, see what type of stuff you can do, make some updates, share the wealth, share the fun, do some fixes for some repos that haven't been updated in a while. People will appreciate that. That is what we call sharing is caring.
Use that an Ant Salesforce repo. That's great. I don't use Ant anymore, but
I do. We also have the Salesforce Limit Monitor. Totally worth checking out. Probably the first one that was recommended to me on which apps to check out. Again, another Ohana project. There is tons of stuff out there that needs to be shared and to learned about that is from Ohana by Ohana. All of this stuff is totally worth checking out, spending some time on. Not to mention, there are all the Salesforce Labs repos. And there is like I said, OpenForce must have come up so many times to take a look at all of these. So as just looking at these, tons of stuff. We're going to take all these links and other links that were sent over, and we're going to drop them in the description so that you all have access to them from the show, and you can all take a look and see what's going on. Definitely encourage you to add to them.
nice.
And Nate, why don't you close us out, man?
I will. You know what? I'm going to share real quick. So that whole, let's see. Here's an open source project I started, I don't know, a year or two ago. And it's right now, all it has is S objects to deal with resume, like a resume structure. The goal would be to have an LWC on an unauthenticated community where somebody could go and see your resume in an LWC. So if you wanted to like clone this, fork it, and contribute to it, it's as easy as fork, copy the code, work with it. And also that repo that I had open earlier, the shop local bingo, I'm going to open up source tree, add everything, initial commit of SFDX project, push changes to origin master, and commit. Oh man. Yeah, update that. But essentially, like you just push it. All right, you push it, and it shows up here, and then everything's available for the public to view. Demos rock.
What about that deployment app that you have? Is that deployment app?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, the deployment manager, where that's actually built out a lot more than the resume, the day away app. Salesforce deployment manager, I've got tools where even just with SOQL, you can pull in your current orgs, Apex classes, etc., into a S object, which says, hey, this is a metadata item, the category is X, this and that, and you can create a deployment where you can track what, essentially it's like a glorified change set. It's still working on the actual turning that in, there's code that turns that into a package XML. So you can, in Salesforce, from your phone with S objects, create a deployment S object, add related metadata items to that, and generate a package XML as a content attachment, content version that attaches to that.
I've used this app. It's pretty sweet.
And it is right here. There we go. Salesforce Deployment Manager, much more fleshed out. You'll see there's config and scripts. There's also code that you will be familiar with, app menus, applications, classes, etc. And just to show you, the classes should be pretty easy. Generate package aura. This actually does create an XML attachment with all these related deployment metadata items and pops it onto your, right onto your deployment object as a content document. So lots of exciting stuff to not only create, but see and contribute to that other people have started. Yeah.
Dude, awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, I hope those of you watching have found this useful, or at least bits and pieces of it. And I hope all of you take some time to check out these repos and open source projects that people in our community have been working on, and at least take a look at them. If not, start contributing to them, or start your own projects and open source projects for people to contribute to and to share with the others in the community. It's a great way to connect and work on your skills.
Even if you just have an idea, that was one of the first things I mentioned today was Git. Git's author was Linus Torvalds of Linux fame. He didn't contribute most of that. He started the idea, he posted on a news group, and he got a following, and people did the work. And you could be the same. You could have an idea, not code at all, but if you just kind of start the shell, get an idea, and get people interested in the idea, they could do most of the work and be glad to have something to contribute to.
And they don't have to be code. Not all of my repos are code. I have some that are code, some that are flows, some that are even just custom report types. I have an entire repo that is dedicated to custom report types and how to take all of your standard objects that do not have custom report types that are misconnected, and how to make them cleaner and not have account, parent account, grandparent account, and how to clean those up so that they're not hideous and they're broken into cleaner sections. It drives me nuts when they're messy.
I mean, you could have a repo of, what is the banned words? What is the community banned words?
There's banned keywords, yes.
Yeah, you could have a repo of banned keywords with different folders of like, oh, category X, category Y. And
so I actually have a repo of moderation rules and banned keywords. So definitely worth checking out. But I know that we're over time, so we need to wrap this one up. So thank you all so much. Make sure to follow us at Megan SF. And then we've got maybe S-Force be with you. So you all take care. Make sure to like and subscribe. Anything else, Nate?
May the S-Force be with you, everyone.
All right. Take care, all, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah.